Hi everyone, Stepan and Jon here. Today I'm going to do the first Patron game analysis. Jon and I played our first training game yesterday, and Jon is and was my first patron in the Bobby Fischer tier. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi everybody, I'm Jon. Started playing chess as a kid, and then gave it up like around 12 years old. Got back into it in November last year and have been utterly obsessed with it ever since.
Okay, so we've had one lesson last week, the first one, and according to our schedule, we are to play one training game each month. For the first game, I asked Jon whether there was a specific opening he wanted to play, and since the Scotch game is his main with the white pieces, he told me he wanted to play the Scotch. He prepared, and he prepared well, I have to say, and I just apologized to Jon like 5 minutes ago for not preparing for the game myself because I got destroyed. And I wanted to take the game seriously, and I did. I didn't really have time to prepare, and I didn't know what I was going to play. So after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, which we knew we were going to play, I took on d4, which... well, I have to do. There's nothing better. Jon took with the knight. Have you been considering bishop c4 or c3 at all?
Not yet.
No? Okay.
I want to make sure that I nail down all the lines of the Scotch, the mainline Scotch, before I try out the gambits.
Okay, so what did you do for your preparation?
So I used Chessable. They have a course on the Scotch. It takes basically every line of the mainline Scotch out to 12 moves, roughly.
Okay.
And then to supplement that, I just went through the Openings Explorer on Lead Chess and tried to see, okay, what other moves are played, what moves are played in response to those, so forth.
So how long did it take you to prepare?
I probably spent a good 2 hours just on the opening.
Okay.
And that's in addition to all the hours I spent preparing for the Scotch, for the past 4 months.
Okay, so I forgot to mention and forgot to ask you, what's your current USCF rating, just for those watching?
Current USCF rating is 1076 provisional after 18 games.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say that it's definitely not your real rating. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so was there a variation you were worried about?
No, that was the variation I was hoping for.
Oh, okay. So during the game and just before this game, I played a game in the Twitter chess tournament, and I had an extremely boring Petrov. You can see it in yesterday's video. So as Jon concluded brilliantly a while ago, I wanted to play something exciting. So after knight takes d4, I didn't want to play, let me just turn off the arrows. I didn't want to play something boring, and most lines in the mainline Scotch don't really interest me that much. I know them for white much better than for black. I've never faced the Scotch with the black pieces. I've never played e5 with the black pieces. So I wanted to play something that's going to hopefully put Jon out of his prep and probably be too hard for him to meet. So I played queen h4. Which is the Steinitz. So were you happy when you saw this, or?
Yeah. I was surprised.
Okay, so I have to apologize because I recorded our game live yesterday, and it's been really hot in Zagreb, and my Wi-Fi kept, turning off, and the video turned out to be full of glitches and breaks, and I just couldn't post it like that, so that's why we are doing the analysis. And during the game, during recording, I said, well, I'm not sure he prepared for this. Let's see. And then you blitz out knight c3. And then I said, yeah, he prepared for this. Okay, so knight c3 is the main move, bishop b4. Bishop e2 is the main move, giving up the e4 pawn. Queen takes e4. And now knight b5 is the main move. And here, have you considered anything else for black apart bishop takes c3?
Not particularly. I mean, the biggest concern is the castling is coming. The rook's going to come to e1. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest concern at the moment is the fact that the knight's going to capture on c7 and win the rook. pretty early in the game. So taking on c3 is, I'm pretty sure, the main line.
Yeah, it is the main line, and I'm pretty sure it's the only move.
Yeah, other than potentially
Queen
King
e5.
d8. Yeah, or that. Which I hadn't prepared for, but I was pretty sure I could come up with some sort of reputation for it.
Yeah, I to be honest, well, I didn't prepare, but if I had prepared, then perhaps I would have decided to play the Steinitz anyway, and then I would be looking at moves like Queen e5, which I'm not sure loses immediately. I don't know. So c7 is protected.
Yeah, c7 is protected. In this instance, I would probably just castle.
Yeah, and then it should be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so but after knight b5, I just decided to play what I know. So bishop takes c3. Taking with the knight is a move. Did you consider that?
Not really, because it just immediately relieves the tension or the threat that I'm going to capture on c7.
Yeah.
So I'd rather double my pawns in that case than...
Yeah. So b takes c3 is the main move, and here you can see the evaluation bar on the right side of the board. White is supposed to be winning in theory from this opening. This is something like the King's Gambit, and Black basically plays for his extra pawn, which is a horrible idea. And during filming, somewhere around this point, I said, why did I play this? I hate being a pawn up. I want to be a pawn down and attacking, and I really hate this. I don't know how to play positions like this one. Okay, so King d8 is the only move. I'm not sure I should be giving up my rook. I've never seen a game with that. Castles is the main move. Knight f6 is the main move. I think d6 can also be played, but knight f6 should be better. And here you played rook e1. Were you considering anything else?
No, again, that's the mainline move, and your knight f6 surprised me. I can't remember exactly. I think it was d6 that's typically played in the main line. So I had to think about it a little bit, but I figured just going along with the plan and putting at least some pressure on your queen to move.
Yeah, but I was counting on rook e1 because I know it's a move, and that's actually why I chose knight f6, so that after rook e1 I can play rook e8, and now your bishop from e2 cannot move. And then I was looking at situations in which the move I was most worried about was either bishop g5 or bishop a3, which I also didn't like, staring at e7. And then still, I don't think you would be able to move your bishop because I would just exchange the queen and the pair of rooks, and then it would be much easier to play.
Yeah.
So here you played bishop e3. Did you consider bishop g5?
I did. Yeah, I spent a decent amount of time thinking about just bishop g5. I ultimately decided against it because I figured if, say you move the queen because it's now being threatened by the rook, currently the bishop on g5 would be undefended. I would have to find some way to defend that. Whereas I wanted to continue to maneuver my pieces into better positions and not have to worry about losing the initiative at all.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, the main plans here are for black to chase the knight away to d4, and after black captures on d4, c takes d4, your bishop should go to f3, but my rook is not on e8 anymore, and then you have these two central pawns which are annoying, so when I play d6, you can play c5, and then my position crumbles. And that's the only thing I didn't want to happen in the game, so... after bishop e3, I was happy because I thought I had some more time. So bishop e3, d6 here, and I can see the engine's analysis on our board here. It hates h3, the move you played next.
Yeah,
but during
it's a natural move.
I think every human would play this. During our game, I was shouting at my PC, and during recording, play h3, please play h3, John, because I was looking at positions where you play something else. I don't know what. Let's say rook b1, and then if I manage to get in bishop g4, then I'm going to be able to exchange the light square bishops, which is going to help me significantly. And of course, you couldn't play f3 to that because I'm going to take on e3.
Right.
So h3, and after h3 I was a bit concerned because I had no idea how to continue the position. What did you think at this point? Did you think you were better?
Oh, I knew I was better.
Yeah.
Well, the computer says it's even, but at the time I thought I was better.
Yeah, I thought you were better too, to be honest. Because I know for a fact, since I've made a video on this variation, I know for a fact that black is worse whatever he does. And that, let's say, if Maxim Vachier-Lagrave and Magnus Carlsen were playing and Magnus was black here, Maxim would win 20 out of 20 games.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard for black to play, and the extra pawn doesn't really mean that much. But I wanted to find something active. I was looking at the move a6, but then I concluded that it loses by force, and we discussed that yesterday already after the game. So I was looking at a6, which is very natural, chasing the knight away, but then that would leave the b6 square undefended, which would be terminal for black, and I'm not sure what the engine is going to say, but I was looking at knight a6, and then after I take, if I don't take, you can win my queen. And after I take, you can take with the queen, and then you have bishop b6 check. So queen check. And yeah, I need to cover with bishop b7 and bishop b6 check, king c8 checkmate. So I couldn't play a6. And after sorry?
That's actually why instead of h3, let's say I had played, rook b1 like you had said. If you had played bishop g4,
yeah,
that's actually the move that the computer recommends. That's the reason it considers h3 an inaccuracy.
Because of knight d6?
Because of the sacrifice.
Wait. Okay, so after d6?
Let's say I played rook b1. Well, especially rook b1 would be deadly now.
So a6?
No, bishop c4. Or bishop g4, sorry.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, bishop g4. So now this works? How? Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes check. And now?
And then you've got the rook.
Yeah, but if you didn't play rook b1, would it still
If
work?
I didn't play rook b1, different story.
Ah, okay. Because rook b1 was I just wanted to give a move to white. I didn't consider that strong.
Right.
Okay.
And that's probably, if I hadn't played h3, that was the move I was looking at the moment.
Okay. I didn't consider rook b1 at all. I thought that h3 has to be played.
Yeah.
So there's no way to defend?
I think every defense just loses another piece. So after capturing on b7, you've got to defend against possible checkmate on, let's see.
Yeah, on c7?
Yeah.
So rook c8? And what now?
Well, rook d1 potentially.
So now I have to... What if I just play queen e6? I'm not sure about this.
I'd have to turn the engine on to really see it, because obviously I didn't see it during the game. Wasn't even considering knight takes d6 at the time.
Yeah.
But the engine sees something out of this.
Yeah, I don't really want to use the engine for this analysis, if you don't mind. We can do that afterwards. And for those of you watching, I'm going to paste the PGN of the game or the link to the game on Lichess, so you can turn the engine on yourselves. But anyway, after d6, h3 was played, which I thought was a good move, and then I was looking at all of the sacrifices on d6, and I figured I need to do something about that, so bishop d7, which seems like a natural move. I mean, I wanted to give myself an option if you do take that, at least it's not a check, and now I figured I could play a6. But yeah, here you played knight d4. How come? I didn't consider this move at all, voluntarily moving away.
Well, I figured your knight was probably moving, your knight on c6 was moving to a better square, potentially e5. I also looked at maybe moving knight a5, planning on coming to c4.
Okay.
Maybe after you play, d5. So I figured your knight was coming to a more active spot, and in the meantime, I was going to have to move my knight because if you capture with your bishop and I recapture with my bishop, actually, now that I'm looking at it, that doesn't look so bad.
Yeah.
But in the game, I figured I wanted to attack more in the center of the board rather than on the queen side.
So when you played knight d4, obviously the normal way for black to play this position is to capture immediately, and that's an automatic move in the Steinitz Scotch.
Yeah.
Allowing you to undouble the pawns. But then I saw a move which was a blunder, as we concluded yesterday. And they couldn't really see why. And then during our first analysis, we saw a line which we concluded that only a grandmaster would see.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to play something tricky. So I played the move knight d5. And the way I saw it was whether you play bishop d3 or bishop f3, I can take on e3, gaining a tempo on your queen, so you don't really have time to take my queen. So worst case for me, we're going to have equal material in that exchange, but it's still going to be a pawn up. And then another move I was looking at was bishop g5 check. And then after bishop g5, I was going to play f6, covering the check. And you don't have bishop f3 because I can take on e1 with my queen.
Right.
So queen e1, rook e1, rook e1. And I figured you still need to save your bishop from g5. And in that case, my knight on d5 would be hanging because your bishop on f3 is attacking it. So worst case, once again, would be a trade.
Yeah.
Then I started looking at positions with knight takes c6 check first, but that I also didn't consider to be a problem. So knight c6, bishop c6, and then if you play bishop c3, bishop d3 or bishop f3, I would once again take on e3. So I didn't consider that a problem. I also saw that I have a knight takes c3 in some positions because if your queen goes to anywhere and your bishop doesn't move, then I can take on e2 with check. So I thought this was a very interesting move. However, do you remember the problem that we saw with the move?
With the move knight d5?
Yeah.
Well, it continues with the move that I did play, although not for the same reason.
Yeah. So bishop f3. And now my analysis was knight takes bishop. That's fine.
Right.
So I took it. There's no other move. So knight takes bishop. And here, the only move I looked at was rook takes knight. And that's what you played. And obviously the engine gives it as +4. You can see it on the right side of the board. But after rook takes e3, it's equal. I think black should be slightly better because that's why I played knight d5. I saw this position and figured, well, after queen g6, I'm threatening bishop h3. You have no threats. I'm going to trade off some pieces and it's going to be an easy game. However, queen b1 is the move.
Yeah.
And do you remember the line after queen b1?
Queen b1. Don't remember where the queen moves. I want to say something like queen g6.
Yeah, let's say queen g6.
Yeah.
That seems like an edge. Probably I would have played this.
Well, then queen can take on b7.
Yeah. Attacking the rook. And then if I play rook b8.
Say what?
And then if rook b8, you can take on c6 with check. And the rook is undefended. And if I play rook c8, then you win a piece. And you're going to recapture on e3 anyway. So this was the variation that we both missed, unfortunately. But I really think that the move after knight takes c3, I think it's really hard to see queen b1. It doesn't seem natural. And the double attack on the c6 knight is really hard to see with all of the pins and stuff. Yeah, so anyway, you took on e3, which, I thought was fine. Queen g6. Now you play the move bishop h5, which I considered as an option, and I found a solution to it. Do you think there were some better moves?
Oh, in hindsight, there definitely were. For one, I could have just, and probably should have just taken the rook on e8.
Yeah.
And then regained control of the e file.
Yeah, so I was looking at rook e8 as the main move, and then I would take with the bishop. And then what?
Probably queen e2.
Okay.
Followed shortly after that by rook e1.
Okay, so queen e2. I'm not sure about queen e2 because now I can. I was going to say f6, but then I saw bishop h5, and that loses a piece. So f6, bishop h5 would be no, because the bishop is defending h5. So yeah, I would probably play f6.
Yeah.
And then rook e1. I don't know. I think I would just play rook b8 because because then you would have a mate on e7.
Yep.
So I would have to play queen f7 first. And now I don't think you have any threats. I mean, if you exchange on c6, you don't have any infiltration points. And I'm still... Sorry?
Bishop h5 here?
Bishop h5 here?
Yeah, followed by queen e7 check. Oh,
the knight is coming.
Followed by knight takes c6.
Followed by knight... Okay, so bishop h5, queen takes bishop, knight c6 check. I'm going to take with the b pawn, and then check, and then here, yeah, you have rook b1 in the end. So let me find something better. Bishop h5. I think I can just ignore it. I can just play g6.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Yeah, it's too scary because if I take with the b pawn, rook b1 is scary. If I don't, then I get checkmated. So I'll probably play g6.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were looking at the position with queen g6, and then yeah, exchanging the rooks should have been more dangerous in my opinion. But I still don't see the a way for you to get a better position from what we just analyzed. So you played bishop h5 in the game, and here I figured I have to be better if not winning, because I thought bishop h5 was a waste of tempo, and because I have the move queen h6, which I didn't end up playing. But the point of queen h6 is that I keep control over e3, and then after queen h6, if you take on f7, I'm going to play rook takes e3, and if you take on e8, I'm going to take bishop e8, and then my bishop is defending f7. But during the game, I just played a stupid move instead, because for some reason I wanted to control e7. So I was looking at queen g5, which does the same thing, puts pressure on e3 and controls e7. So I played queen g5, which was a blunder. And the reason it was a blunder is because you have rook g3.
Right.
And rook g3 seems very unpleasant. I think queen h6 would have to be played, because if I play queen f6, then you have rook f3, and it's definitely all falling apart. And after queen h6 here, you can at least, you can take on f7. I'm not sure what else. Maybe rook b1 should be a strong move. So yeah, this was a blunder, and I noticed that you didn't spend too much time thinking after queen g5. Did you consider rook g3 at all?
No. It seems obvious now, but I didn't even see it.
Yeah, because from what I was thinking, if you allow me to exchange on e3, then you have no more pressure.
Yeah.
And you played queen f3, which seemed... During recording, I said, yeah, I think I'm winning now. And
yeah.
I saw the move g6 immediately, which we are going to get to shortly, but anyway. So here I have to exchange, so I take on e3.
Yep.
You have to take with the pawn. If you exchange the queens, then you should be just losing. So pawn takes. And now we saw one engine line which seemed absurd, and I don't think any human could find it. That's the line with knight e5. And knight e5 allowing queen takes b7 and then playing rook c8, which seems absurd. I didn't consider it. I don't think I will be considering moves like that for another 10 years. I don't know. But yeah, I just saw the straightforward and simple g6, and ended up playing that. And now this is the critical position of the game. So what were your thoughts at this point?
At this point, I knew that the bishop was probably a goner. I could have moved bishop g4, and that was basically the only other move that I was considering besides the one that I played.
But after bishop g4, pawn g4, I would just play probably knight e5, then giving up a pawn.
Doubled, and my king is, very sorely protected.
Yeah.
So I was looking for other moves besides that. I figured if there was another move, if I could, maybe capture the knight on c6 and then play another move.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the move that I actually played, queen f7.
Yeah, I saw that move before g6, and I was calculating queen f7 and saw that I cannot take the bishop. So this is the first critical variation. So queen takes f7. If I take the bishop, then white is winning with a check. So queen f8 check. I need to play bishop e8, and then knight e6 wins the queen. Yeah. So that I saw before g6. The other variation I was looking at, no, not here, g6. The other variation was queen f7, and then queen takes h5, which I thought was okay. But yesterday we concluded that it was a draw. Do you remember the line?
I think. Trying to remember. Okay. If queen f8, then you still got bishop e8.
Yeah.
Followed by queen f6 check.
Yeah. And then knight d7, and that should be it.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's not queen f8. I actually can't remember the draw myself. Maybe it was knight c6. Yeah. So knight c6, I guess bishop c6. Yeah, and then I'm going to have to keep protecting my bishop. So now queen f8 and bishop e8, and then you have this check here. And queen e7. But what if I take with the b pawn?
Or queen e6, yeah.
Yeah, but if I take with the b pawn, does that work? So bishop e8.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
against the check on f6.
Yeah, okay, bc6.
So you have to move,
Wait.
and then you've moved to c8.
So here, and now you play queen f6 check?
Queen f6 check.
Yeah, you have rook b1.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think I can just play. I might just be able to play queen. No, that doesn't work. Never mind. Well, queen e6. Queen e6, at least.
Yeah, and that's a perpetual check.
Perpetual. Yeah.
No, but does it lead to a perpetual? Wait. Rook b1. Yeah, you can check with the queen. Yeah. It's a perpetual. So anyway, after queen takes f7, I saw that pawn takes loses. I saw that I didn't see that queen takes draws. I thought it was better for black because I was only looking at the position without knight takes c6. So I saw that if queen takes, then queen f8, bishop e8, queen f6 check, knight d7. I saw that was better for black. But before g6, I saw queen takes e3 check. And I thought this variation has to be completely winning, which it is, but I misplayed it. So, queen takes check. And at this point, my Wi-Fi died. Which is very unfortunate. Worst possible moment. And I think thus far, what do you think about the position thus far? How was your play and my play?
Oh, I knew I was losing. I knew that I had misplayed with bishop h5. And and all of a sudden I'm on the defense. The one thing that at least I guess I figured I could take advantage of is the fact that your queen is on an open file and your rook on a8's pretty much useless at the moment.
Yeah.
And so if I could keep that restricted, if I could keep your king from moving out of the way, maybe gain tempos on your queen, then I could survive, but probably not win.
Yeah, at this point, I was just during the video while I was playing the game, I said, okay, so that should be it. And then my Wi-Fi died, and then I wanted to see whether you'd moved or not, or resigned, because I couldn't really see a way out, and I didn't consider anything but the move I saw first, which was King H2.
Yeah.
And then when I got my Wi-Fi back, the move on the board was King F1. Which I didn't even look at. I didn't look at it after you'd played it at all. I just captured the bishop. And I think I didn't consider anything else for even 1 second. And then when I took on h5, then I'm so sad that I don't have the video, but I said, oh, okay, yeah. And I said, good job, John. This is winning for white. And
did you see it before I had played it?
Yeah. I saw it immediately. I saw it as soon as I took the bishop.
Got it.
Because once I got the Wi-Fi back, your king was on F1, and I wrote you a message before I got my Wi-Fi back. Did you move?
Yeah.
You said no. Then that's the last thing I saw. Then I got my connection back, and then your king was on F1, and I just took the bishop. And then when I took the bishop, I said, okay. Yeah, what can you do? And I said, good job. So this is game over. And it's game over because, would you like to explain the final position?
As best as I can. So rook e1 forces you can go ahead and put it on the board.
Yeah.
Rook e1 basically forces the queen to take.
Because otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's almost definitely going to lead to checkmate or the loss of the queen plus a little extra. For instance, if the queen moves to, let's say, g5, you've got queen f8, bishop e8, and then queen takes e8 is checkmate.
Yeah.
I calculated as you were, I think you spent something like 6 minutes trying to calculate what to do here.
To be honest, I was just talking about how I messed up the position, and queen takes rook has to be the only move. I don't have anything else, and I kept repeating that. I wasn't really calculating.
Yeah, during those 6 minutes, as you were explaining, I guess I found like 3 or 4 different ways to mate you here, and I actually thought, potentially you might miss queen takes e1, and then I would just win. You made it a little harder on me than that. In fact, this was still very much a game, even after rook e1 here.
I don't think it was a game here after queen takes c1 that had to be played. So now queen takes c1, king takes c1. I think this is completely over because I have no way to get my rook into the game if you play precisely. And I also didn't see a way not to trade the knights. And I have
I actually missed something there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the engine says that knight takes d4, which I played, was a mistake, and that the best move was h6, which if somebody plays h6 in this position, then you know that they're cheating.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to get my pieces out, and I didn't want to get checkmated, and I figured it would take you a little longer to bring your king closer if I take the knight. So yeah, I took the knight, and this... I didn't really think this was a game, to be honest. I thought this was just completely over.
Yeah.
And now I couldn't find the move. I was looking at positions with c6. This was my first thought. And then allowing queen takes d6, which just would be terminal. So c6, queen f8, bishop e8, queen d6 check, and that's losing. So I cannot play c6. The other thing I wanted to do was play b6 and then eventually get my king to b7, which ended up playing later on. But basically I had no move, and the only thing I found that doesn't lose anything immediately was bishop e8, which I ended up playing. And I wanted to tempt you into taking on h7 to give me some time. But
Engine said was the right move, but I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either because I have at least one more move and I didn't see a check you could get. But you ended up playing queen e6, which I didn't like either. I don't know why, and now I started thinking, well, okay, he might mess up. You had 7 minutes at this point, and I thought if I manage to get my rook to a5 or to a6, then potentially I might be fine in this game. I knew I was losing, but I didn't know by how much. But obviously, if my rook was on f8, then it's an even game.
Right.
So I played a5, trying to get my rook out. And you played d5, which I thought was fine, cramping my position down. And here I played b6, which I thought was the only move. And now the idea was, once you check, because if you don't check, you can't really make any progress, I'm going to play king c8, king b7. So what were your thoughts here?
Well, it looks like 5 minutes left on the clock. So I knew I had to play fast. And I figured I wasn't sure if you were trying to get an open file for your rook, get a passed pawn, both, probably both. So I knew I needed to bring my king into the game. And I figured he was going to be coming to the B and A files. So I went ahead and I was like, okay, if I play C4, reinforce, D5, then my queen is free to start moving around, and then I can also just bring my king over to c2, c3 to start defending against the pawns. In the meantime, your king is still restricted. The reason I had played queen e6 is to prevent your king from moving anywhere, at least initially.
So c4, but...
yeah, endgames are not my strong suit.
Yeah, I actually didn't know what to do against one plan you had, and that's taking on h7, letting me get my rook outside, and then playing g4 and marching your passed pawn up the board.
Yeah, and I was not even looking at that side of the board. And after the game, I realized I should have tried to create a passed pawn on the G file, but
because there's no way for me to stop that.
No.
I mean, if I manage to get my rook to a5, then what? I mean, you can play c4 then, and then my rook still doesn't have any out. And I was actually looking at the position with, not here, but at some point I wanted you to play a4, just to stop me from advancing to a4. Because then, even if I take with the bishop, it's going to take me time to move my bishop away and then play a4.
Yeah.
But anyway, you played c4, which I think it's winning anyway. It doesn't matter. I played a4, finally creating a square for my rook. And now you played a3, which I didn't like because my rook can get either to a5 or to a4. It doesn't really matter. And the thing is that I still cannot move my rook away from the 8th rank because it's going to be a draw, and I didn't want to draw. So a3. I don't know. Were you considering anything else?
I'm sure I was, but I did not have time to calculate many things out. So a3, I figured it was probably not the winning move, but it was a safe move, I figured, because it puts that pawn on a dark square where it can't be targeted by the bishop later. And also just kind of keeps anything from coming to b4 immediately. Because I figured at this point, because you couldn't move your king, you're trying to get your rook to maybe a5. That's part of why I played c4 earlier as well. So yeah, I just thought, I've got 2.5 minutes on the clock. A3 is a safe move. I'll just go ahead and play it.
And I thought it was a waste of time because now I can change plans. And I continued with rook b8, which makes sense. And now I want to play b5. And you played king d2 here, trying to get your king to the queen side, which makes sense. But I think that it was too slow because after b5, now I actually have some counterplay.
Yeah.
And you played king c3, which is fine, defending your pawn. And here we discussed the move b4 for me.
Yeah, B4 was something I was concerned about. I was trying to calculate as much as I could. I figured it was probably safe because I could get my king behind the pawn and actually use your pawn as a defender. But it was still, I hadn't calculated out fully, so it was a bit scary for me.
Yeah.
Of course, when you didn't.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the engine gives this as equal, which I thought I had some counterplay. I didn't think I could survive, but apparently with precise play, king c3 can be punished, which was really hard to see. So I think that instead of trying to stop my threats, which weren't really threats on the queen side, just g4 marching your pawn up the board would have been enough to finish me quickly.
Right.
And b4, okay, we were looking at b4 and then a takes b4, and then the idea for black to push a3, forcing the king to retreat. I didn't really consider that because I didn't want to trade the pawns. So if b4 then takes, and here you don't have to react yet. Really, you only have to react after a2. And if you trade this pawn for this pawn, I have nothing, and you can actually attack me from the queen side as well. So the move I was looking at was b takes c4 because I wanted to get the b3 square for my rook. And after king takes c4, I figured I at least have a check from b5. And now the engine, we looked at this yesterday. Rook b3 is actually a draw because it's a perpetual check. Your king is stuck on c4 and... I was actually considering positions with rook b3 and then bishop b5 check, trying to at least win the queen or do something like that, because it was possible if you blunder. But then I saw that it's a draw and I didn't want to go for that. So yeah, it was over. Now I played bishop b5, which brings me back to a losing position. King d4, and now I have nothing. Bishop e8 because I have no moves. Queen f6 check, king c8. Now I was happy because I got to at least get to the queen side. The engine apparently can still draw this. It doesn't give it as a huge advantage.
Right.
Queen f5 check, and here king d8 should be played, accepting a draw if you want to go for it.
Which I probably would like. I can't tell if I don't remember if you cropped your screen so that's cutting out the timestamps, but I have 47 seconds left.
Yeah.
So I was actually looking for ways to draw you at this point, just to relieve the time pressure.
I mean, I obviously didn't want to go for a draw because if I deserve to lose, which I do, then I should lose. And if I can manage to swindle you in time pressure, then fine. So I played king b7. I didn't calculate at all. I had 9 minutes left, but I just... and you played correctly, queen b1. And after king a8, which is a horrible move, queen takes h7, king a7, and here I missed queen takes e7, which, I mean, at this point I started sweating and I didn't want to play anymore. But I mean, obviously missing queen takes e7 is just stupid. And that's a really nice finish, which you mentioned. You saw rook b7, and now you have a fork with queen a5 check. And then if king b8, you can play queen d8 check, winning the bishop. So here I resigned, and I apologize for not resigning earlier.
No, I mean, you were probably right not to resign, because given that I'm not very good at endgames, you still had some opportunities there. So you can, by not resigning, you essentially got yourself back into the game.
Yeah, which I wasn't aware of.
I'm not the grandmaster. If I was a grandmaster, you totally should have resigned after rook e1. But
yeah, I did. To be honest, I missed king f1, rook e1, and since you were better throughout the game because of the opening, and then when I managed to equalize and get a better position, it was because you played two imprecise moves. Queen f3 and bishop h5, which I didn't really like, but I thought they were logical moves. And then when you got a huge advantage, I wanted to see the conversion, because I know that bishop and rook versus queen isn't easy. But when the rook is on a8, if you keep it there, then it should be. So I wanted to see the conversion, which didn't go smoothly. I think that g4 was a plan to consider. And
Yep.
But yeah, in the end, you crushed me. So firstly, I want to congratulate you once again. I think you played a great game. I want to be mad at myself, and you should be for underestimating you and not preparing for the game. I can promise you that for the game we play in July, and we can arrange an opening now if you have any preferences. I'm going to be preparing as if it were a tournament game against a FIDE master.
All right.
And I'm not going to be playing variations like the Steinitz anymore. I can promise you that as well.
Yeah. All right.
So thank you very much. I just want to say sorry once again for not being able to publish the game video.
Oh, no worries.
And it really isn't because I lost the game. It's really because of the Wi-Fi connection and stuff. And I hope that for our next game I will be able to record it normally. Do you have any final thoughts on the game?
Nope. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think the game speaks for itself.
Yeah. It does.
Mistakes were made by both sides, so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, John, for allowing me for getting on Skype to analyze the game with me. Thank you once again for becoming a patron and letting me play these games with you. Thanks everybody for watching. Please let Jon and I know what you think about the game. Leave any comments, find improvements for both sides. Let us know what you play against the Steinitz Scotch or if you play it yourself. And stay tuned for more chess. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.